I introduced you, I'm gonna say this is a friend of mine. That means you're a connected guy. Now, if I said instead, this is a friend of ours, that would mean you a main guy. Capiche?
First, I think congratulations are in order. Did you win yourself a belt a couple days ago, or I guess a couple weeks ago?
Well, they call it the unlimited heavyweight title.
Yeah, how'd that feel?
Yep. It was awesome, man. I fought for it gosh, quite a few years ago, and I lost. I lost a 5 round decision to a guy named Tony Lopez. And the day that I fought him, I had an emergency root canal that morning,
Oh,
and I almost knocked him out in the first, and then he ended up beating me over the course of 5 rounds. So it was kind of like it was pretty sweet for me to win it this time in front of
hold
my
on.
family and friends. So.
Hold, you just skipped a bunch of stuff. So you had a root canal and then left from the dentist and went and got in the cage to get punched in the face.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I got a root canal the night before the fight. I went home, tooth was hurting. I woke up at about midnight. I called the emergency dentist. They're like, "Yeah, we can get you in at 7 a.m." I didn't sleep at all that night, and then I woke up at 7 a.m. I went to the dentist, and they're like, "Well, you need a root canal," and I'm like, "Well, I fight for a world title tonight," and they're like, "Well, it's up to you." They're like, "What do you think's going to hurt more?" I'm like, "Do the root canal." So they do the root canal. I go in there. I fight Tony. I almost beat him in the first, and then he grinded on me for the rest of the fight, and I lost in front of everybody. I mean, I didn't lose terribly, but I lost. And so to win it this time was in front of all my family, in front of all my friends, with my teammate Cameron Robinette also winning the title that night. It was just it was awesome. It was a dream come true. It was great.
Nice. Nice. All right, let's go back because I've seen your very impressive record, and 90% of your wins are by submission. What made you fall in love with MMA? How did we get down that path?
Okay, well, that's quite the story. I'll give you a condensed version. I probably fell in love with it for all the wrong reasons. I was when I was really young, I was bullied a lot, and I never was taught how to fight, anything like that, really stand up for myself, defend myself. Later years in high school, I became a pretty good athlete. I was playing football, and there was a guy next door who had some mats in his gym, and I was like, I should I should do this, I should do it. And like I said, I started for all the wrong reasons. I remember thinking like, I'm gonna go find those guys that picked on me. I'm gonna beat all their asses and all this stuff. And then a couple years went by, and I was training really hard, and all of a sudden I just fell in love with the sport. So I started for all the wrong reasons, and ended up just falling in love with just it's limitless, the options that you can do, whether it's grappling, striking, mixing it all together, and just loving the competition part of it, and the fact that it is a team sport, but it's also not a team sport. Like, your team helps you, but at the end of the day, it is all on you to win or lose at the end of the day.
Yep. Like that is exactly it. And even when you're there and you're in it, and like you can hear your coaches and your teammates, it's still me and you punching each other in the face. Like that's what's happening.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Did you
Yeah.
start at AKA or did you somewhere before that?
No, so I started at another gym before that. Well, first I started in a garage. We weren't even a gym. And then I ended up going to another place called Legacy MMA. And then when Trevor ended up breaking away from his business partner at the time, and opening AKA, it was probably about a year after that I decided to set foot in there. And boy, was that a eye-opening experience of how little I knew.
Thinking you were
And
hot
how
shit, and then you came in here and you were like, oh no.
Yeah, I got beat up for a long, long time. But yeah, I've been there ever since, and the team's grown, and it's awesome.
So when you were saying how you were getting bullied, you found the mats had, and I'm assuming you're around my age, had the UFC hadn't blown up yet, but did you do what we all did and you saw them on tapes from Blockbuster? Did you know it was a
Oh
thing, or were
yeah,
you already in there like mixing up when you found out about the UFC?
it was a little later, so it was like 2007-ish, was when I started, and so UFC was fairly mainstream. It was like kind of the Chuck Liddell days.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would watch all the Pride videos and watch Vanderlei Silva, and it was like bigger than life to me at the time. I'm like, if I ever make it to this level, it's gonna be crazy. And yeah, it was just I just fell in love with the whole thing. And then I fought for my first fight. I lost my first amateur fight. I lost, and then I won a bunch in a row after that. And then, yeah, it was just
I know, and because I've seen the Tapology thing, You and Anthony Hamilton, you're going for the CoGa Heavyweight Title Saturday the 2nd. Been a couple times you guys were supposed to fight, and it has just fallen through. Is this just another fight for you, or does it mean something to you to fight? No, no, this dude was in the UFC. He was at the top level. He's their champ. Like, no, no, I want to fight this guy, or I
Oh,
don't know. I'm not saying is there bad blood. I'm just
dude,
saying, what does it mean or do for you? Because I see, and it's not you pulled out people. There was COVID. There was all kinds of reasons you guys didn't get to fight. But what does it mean to you to be like, yep, I get this guy in the cage?
I could go on this subject for 20 minutes.
We got time.
So it means more than just a fight, for sure. No doubt about it. I think I am kind of at the point when I've told my teammates a little bit. I'm like, I just kind of just I want it to be over with because there's been so much history. I mean, you're talking like 7 years of being scheduled to fight and not ended up fighting and all that kind of stuff. So it's been this thing where it's just like we haven't finished it, and I have no bad blood towards him. I think he's a great. I follow him on social media. He's a great father. He's a great fighter. He's been nothing but respectful. I mean, we have had some issues in the past with the pulling out and things like that, but I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And so it's just been one of those things where I've been wanting to get it over with, get past this point. And he's the same way. I mean, he called me and talked to me, and he's like, "This is the one I have to. It's the one that never happened that I need." And so I think we both look at it like that. It's not a fight where it's like bigger than life to me because I'll tell you a crazy story, and I told Anthony this actually. I saw Anthony in the Coga cage. This was probably, gosh, at this point, this was probably 10, 11 years ago. And they announced him and they said, "This is UFC fighter Anthony the Freight Train Hamilton." And he walked in there. And I remember looking at him and thinking to myself, like, oh my goodness, man, look at that guy. I mean, that guy is just, that's a bigger than life human being, right?
Yeah.
And I was almost like overwhelmed. And now I look and I'm like, "Eh, he's a fighter. One of us is gonna win. He's a man.
Yeah.
And not that he's not really good and stuff, but I don't really immortalize him the way that I did before, and I think that's good. I know that he's tough. Like everybody knows that he's tough. He's kind of the bar around here for toughness at heavyweight. But I have no fear. I'm like, I only get to live once. Like
Yeah.
let's just do it.
Nice. Nice. So I'm assuming you went training camp, fight, maybe a day, a couple days off to just chillax, but then right back into training camp. So how's that been?
Yeah, so training camp, fight. Uh, I went to Leavenworth for the weekend after the fight. I came back and I started training again. And I was pretty sore from the fight. So I had to kind of take it easy for a couple days, but the last week and a half, so I've just been kind of continue. It's really weird mentally to go fight, and then you're supposed to be like, ooh, and I'm not.
Yeah. Well,
I
you
fought and I'm
can't.
like, okay, well that's the first one. So at least we got past that one.
Nice.
Yeah, you just keep training, and I'm already in good shape, so
Yeah.
so
That's
that
good.
makes it a little better.
Maybe have one big ass celebratory cheat meal, but then we're right back at it.
That's heavyweight, man. I don't have to be too strict on the diet. So
Nice. When you were a kid, what movie was always in the VCR or just constantly playing that was just always on when you were little?
that's a wild question. Uh, when I was little, goodness, I remember I watched the movie Shooter a lot with Mark Wahlberg, and when I was younger, I really liked the Chronicles of Riddick. I was like,
Oh,
man, that guy's such a badass dude. Like, just kind of almost like idolizing like how tough he was,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know we just said a heavyweight, you don't really have to, but when you're in training camp and you're going for a title fight, do you allow yourself any type of cheat meal? Like, hey, I can have this, but I have to work it off. Is there a specific cheat meal you go like, hey, I'm working towards this?
Not really. I just try to eat like when I'm fighting a heavyweight, I just try to eat whole foods and stuff that's not processed. But I don't really limit myself because with how hard I'm training, it's like I can come home and eat, two ribeye steaks and I I don't I don't gain a pound, I don't lose a pound. I pretty much sit right where I'm at, which is like, 230, 232. So I don't really splurge. I don't really like sweets and stuff like that. Um, so I don't really splurge, but there's not really any restriction either. It's just basically whole foods and as much
Nice.
of them as I want to eat.
Yeah, that's fair. Back when you first started watching and now, who were the fighters you liked watching and who do you like watching now in the UFC? Or I guess in
So I
Bellator
love,
anyway, but just the pro guys.
yeah, pro guys. I loved watching back in the day. It was like BJ Penn. I loved watching BJ Penn. Just that guy is just an absolute monster. But I really liked BJ Penn a lot. And now in today's MMA world, this is kind of a tough one. Well, obviously, Alex Pereira. It would be. I think that. I mean, he's just such a good striker, and he's so fluid. That would probably, I would say, be my favorite fighter now.
Nice. Okay, last question. We talked about you're going in to fight Hamilton. It was supposed to happen, all this stuff. You just came off choking a dude out. Do you look at this not as maybe you do, but is this the biggest, toughest fight of your career? Or do you look at it as like you fought guys better than Anthony?
No, I think this is probably the biggest, toughest fight of my career. I think with Anthony, the thing is he's really skilled and he's really big. And that's where I think makes it the toughest fight of my career. I do think I've fought guys that might have been on the same level of him as skill wise, but I've never fought a guy that's been on the same level of him skill wise, being 265 and 6'5" and not a fat 6 foot, not a fat 265. So that in and of itself creates, all kinds of problems. And but at the same time, it's just I just keep looking at it like it's just another day at the office. It's just another puzzle that I have to figure out.
Nice. All right, man. I will either see you on weigh-ins or I will see you when fight day. I'll be
Sounds
cage
good.
side calling your fight, and I'm so excited when I don't know when you and Joe started talking, but he had sent me a text and he was like, "Yo, I think I might have Hamilton coming out of retirement," and I was like, "Please tell me it's against the guy that you had told me and like that they want to." He was like, "It is that guy. You can't say anything, but like we're working towards this." And when I heard that, I was just like, "Oh, here we go." And so like,
Yeah, I mean, being your last fight, you want to go out with a good one,
yeah,
and this is going to be a good one.
it's
So
gonna be a good one. All right, man. I'll edit this up and I will. I'll email it to you and then I'll text you and let you know when I email it to you. Give me a day or so.
okay, sounds good, man. Thank you so much.
All
I
right,
appreciate your time.
yeah, thank you.
Once again, this show is presented by Combat Games MMA.